High above southern France, a highway crosses the sky. This is the Millau Viaduct, a massive cable-stayed bridge built across the Tarn Valley, where the road rises above the landscape on 7 giant concrete piers. But this bridge was not designed to overpower the valley. It was designed to touch it lightly. To build it, engineers had to lift a steel roadway across open air, control wind and precision at extreme height, and connect 2 sides of a deep valley without destroying the world below. This is how France built the Millau Viaduct above the clouds. In southern France, near the town of Millau, the Tarn Valley cuts through the landscape like a natural barrier. For ordinary roads, a valley is something to descend into, cross at the bottom, and climb out of again. But for a modern motorway, that kind of route creates a problem. It slows traffic, it adds distance, it forces vehicles through narrow local roads, and during heavy travel periods, it can turn a scenic valley into a major bottleneck. France needed a direct high-speed route across this landscape. But the question was not only where to build the road. The real question was how. How do you carry a motorway across a wide valley without sending traffic down into the town below? How do you build hundreds of meters above the ground? How do you create a structure strong enough for highway traffic, but light enough to respect the landscape? The answer became one of the most recognizable bridges in the world. The Millau Viaduct carries the A75 autoroute across the Tarn Valley. It is 2,460 meters long. At its highest point, it reaches 343 meters. It is supported by 7 concrete piers, a steel deck, 7 steel pylons, and 154 stay cables. From a distance, it looks almost simple. A thin line crossing the valley, a few tall towers, a pattern of cables. But that simplicity hides one of the most demanding bridge construction projects in modern Europe. The bridge had to solve several problems at once. It had to complete a missing link in the motorway route. It had to cross the Tarn Valley at high level. It had to survive wind, temperature movement, and traffic loads. It had to be built quickly and precisely, and it had to do all of this in a sensitive landscape, where a heavy structure could have damaged the beauty of the valley itself. This is what made Millau different. France did not just need a bridge, it needed a bridge that could almost disappear into the sky. The design brought together engineering and architecture. The structural concept was developed with French engineer Michel Virlogeux. The architectural vision came from Norman Foster. Together, the idea was not to fight the valley with a massive wall of concrete. It was to cross from plateau to plateau with the fewest possible touches on the land below. Instead of many short spans, the bridge would use long, repeated spans. Instead of a heavy deck, it would use a slender steel roadway. Instead of a structure that looked brutal, it would use towers and cables to create rhythm, balance, and lightness. The result was a multi-span cable-stayed bridge. In a cable-stayed bridge, the deck is supported by cables that run directly from the pylons down to the roadway. The loads from traffic move into the deck. From the deck, they move into the stay cables. The cables pull those forces into the pylons. The pylons send them down into the piers, and the piers transfer everything into the foundations and the ground. This is why the Millau Viaduct looks so light. The deck does not work alone. Every part of the bridge carries part of the force. Every tower, every cable, every pier, and every foundation has a specific job. What looks like elegance from far away is actually structural logic made visible. But before the bridge could become a graceful line across the valley, engineers had to begin with the part most people never see, the foundations. A bridge this tall cannot simply stand on the surface. Each pier had to deliver enormous loads into stable ground. The weight of the structure, the force of traffic, the pull from the cables, the movement of wind, and the expansion and contraction of the deck all had to travel safely into the earth. So the first major stage was foundation work. Engineers prepared deep reinforced concrete support systems beneath the piers, anchoring them into the valley geology. This hidden work was critical, because once the bridge rose hundreds of meters into the air, there would be no room for weakness at the base. Only after the foundations were ready could the 7 concrete piers begin to rise. And these were not ordinary bridge supports. The tallest pier, P2, reaches about 245 meters before the mast above the deck is added. That means one concrete pier alone rises to a height comparable to a skyscraper. But unlike a skyscraper, this pier was not built to hold floors. It was built to carry a moving bridge, a steel roadway, wind forces, cables, and the temporary loads of construction itself. The piers were built upward in stages. Concrete had to be placed carefully. The shape had to remain accurate. The vertical alignment had to be controlled as the structure grew higher and higher. From the valley floor, each pier became a slow vertical climb. Layer by layer, form by form, pour by pour, the bridge began to emerge from the ground. The shape of the piers was also important. They are tall and slender, but not fragile. Their tapered form reduces visual weight, while still carrying enormous structural loads. Near the top, the supports divide into more flexible forms below the roadway. This matters because a bridge more than 2 kilometers long cannot behave like a rigid object. It moves. Steel expands in heat and contracts in cold. Concrete responds to temperature. Traffic loads shift throughout the day. Wind pushes from the side. The structure must be strong, but it must also allow controlled movement. That balance between strength and flexibility is one of the secrets of the Millau Viaduct. By late 2003, the major piers had reached their full height. The valley now had 7 concrete towers standing across it. But there was still no road, and this created the most dramatic construction challenge of the entire project. How do you place a steel motorway deck across a valley hundreds of meters deep? You could try to lift sections into place from below, but the valley was too high, the spans too long, and the operations too complex. You could try to build everything piece by piece in the air, but that would expose workers and equipment to height, wind, and difficult temporary conditions for too long. So engineers chose a different method. They would build the road on land, then push it into the sky. The steel deck was fabricated in box sections away from the final position. These sections were transported to the construction site, assembled on both sides of the valley, and joined into long, continuous deck segments. One segment began from the north side, the other began from the south side. Then, using launching equipment, each half of the deck was gradually pushed outward across the piers. This was the centerpiece of the construction process. The road was not lifted into the valley, it was launched across it. In controlled stages, the steel deck moved forward. It slid from support to support, advancing over open space. Temporary intermediate piers helped reduce the unsupported length during construction. Hydraulic systems pushed the deck forward with precision. Engineers monitored the structure continuously. Because during launching, the bridge was not yet acting like its final self. It was incomplete. It was flexible. Its weight distribution changed every time the deck advanced. The front end of the deck had to reach the next support without bending too far. The piers had to receive the temporary construction loads. The steel had to remain aligned, and the two halves, launched from opposite sides of the valley, eventually had to meet in the middle. At this stage, precision was everything. A small error at one support could grow into a major problem hundreds of meters away. Temperature could change the length of the steel. Wind could affect operations. The deck could deflect under its own weight. Surveyors and engineers had to track position, elevation, and alignment through every movement. Each launch was not just a push. It was a calculated structural event. The deck moved slowly, but the consequences were enormous. With every advance, France was pushing a motorway farther into open air. Then came the moment the two halves finally met. On May 28, 2004, the northern and southern sections of the deck came together high above the Tarn. The gap was closed. The road line became continuous. The valley had been crossed. But even then, the Millau Viaduct was still not complete. The steel deck was in position, but it still needed the full cable-stayed system that would define the finished bridge. The 7 steel pylons had to rise above the roadway. Each pylon would stand about 87 meters above the deck. From those pylons, stay cables would connect down to the steel roadway. In the final bridge, 154 cables work across the structure. They are not simply visual features. They are part of the bridge's skeleton. The cables help support the deck, reduce bending, and transfer forces back into the towers and piers. During construction, the cables also played a role in managing the behavior of the launched deck. This made their installation especially demanding. A stay cable is not just attached and forgotten. It must be positioned. It must be tensioned. It must be monitored. And it must work with the exact geometry of the bridge. If one cable force is wrong, it can affect the shape of the deck. If the deck shape is wrong, it can affect the cable forces. The entire structure is connected. That is why cable-stayed bridges require such careful control. The Millau Viaduct was not built as a pile of separate parts. It was built as a system. Concrete piers, steel deck, steel pylons, stay cables, foundations, expansion movement, wind behavior. All of them had to come together into one balanced structure. And above the behavior, all of them had to come together. Tarn Valley, the greatest invisible force, was wind. A bridge this high and slender is exposed. Air moves through the valley. Clouds and fog can surround the deck. Strong winds can affect lifting, launching, surveying, and worker safety. Even after construction, the bridge had to remain stable as traffic moved across it in real weather. That is why the deck profile mattered. A heavy deck would have made the bridge visually bulky and structurally demanding. A very light deck could be more sensitive to wind if not shaped correctly. So the steel roadway had to be both efficient and stable. Its form had to carry traffic, control aerodynamic behavior, and work with the cable-stayed system. At this scale, engineering is not about making one part strong. It is about making all parts work together. The deck had to cooperate with the cables. The cables had to cooperate with the pylons. The pylons had to cooperate with the piers. The piers had to cooperate with the foundations. And the entire bridge had to cooperate with the landscape. That is why the Millau Viaduct became more than a transportation project. It became a lesson in restraint. Many mega projects are impressive because they look heavy. They announce their power through mass. The Millau Viaduct does the opposite. It is massive, but it does not look massive. It is taller than the Eiffel Tower at its highest point, yet it appears thin against the valley. It carries a motorway, but from far away, it looks like a line drawn through mist. This effect was not created by decoration. It came from engineering decisions. 7 supports instead of many. Long spans instead of short ones. A steel deck instead of a massive concrete roadway. Cable stays instead of brute force. A repeated structural rhythm instead of visual chaos. The bridge looks calm because the design solved the conflict. Height, wind, traffic, landscape, and construction precision were all brought into one form. The project required 14 years of preparation and 3 years of construction. It used about 85,000 cubic meters of concrete and 36,000 tons of steel structure. At the height of the work, hundreds of skilled craftsmen and specialists were involved. Concrete crews built upward from the valley. Steel teams assembled the deck. Launching crews controlled the movement across open air. Cable specialists installed and adjusted the stays. Surveyors tracked alignment. Engineers calculated both temporary and final conditions. Every team was working on one of the most demanding infrastructure schedules of its time. And the bridge had to be finished not just as a structure, but as a functioning motorway. After the deck was connected, the remaining pylons and cables were completed. The roadway surface was finished. Barriers, lighting, systems, and final inspections followed. The construction site slowly transformed into a road. Then, on December 14, 2004, the Millau Viaduct was inaugurated. What had once been a difficult valley crossing became a direct route through the sky. For drivers, the crossing could now take only minutes. Instead of descending into congestion near Millau, traffic could pass high above the valley, moving across one of the most dramatic motorway bridges ever built. But the bridge did more than solve a traffic problem. It changed how people saw the region. The Millau Viaduct became a landmark. People came to photograph it, to drive across it, to stand below it, and to watch the road disappear into mist. From the valley floor, the piers rise like white cliffs. From the deck, the cables frame the horizon. From the air, the bridge looks like a precise line stretched between 2 plateaus. Its achievement is not only that it crosses the Tarn Valley, it is how it crosses. With height, but not heaviness. With strength, but not brutality. With engineering, but also with architectural restraint. The Millau Viaduct shows that infrastructure does not have to fight the landscape. It can respond to it. It can solve a real transportation problem while creating something people remember. It can carry thousands of vehicles and still feel almost weightless. That is the deeper story of this bridge. Not just concrete, not just steel, not just cables, but control. Control of geometry, control of force, control of movement, control of wind, control of construction sequence, and control of how a megastructure meets the natural world. Most bridges cross rivers. This one crossed the sky. France did not simply build a bridge across the Tarn Valley. It lifted a motorway above it, piece by piece, pier by pier, cable by cable, until a difficult road problem became a monument above the clouds. This is where bridge engineering meets landscape, and where France turned a valley crossing into a symbol of precision, elegance, and human achievement.